Different, podcast number 8, where we're going to speak with the guys from Beam Dental about innovation, connection, and making dental care more human. I'm going to pass the mic, so to speak, over to you, Dr. Kalniz. You could please tell us about yourself and your role at Beam, and then introduce Hayder for us too, please.
Yes, my name is Dr. Scott Kalniz. I am a dentist. Started out in a single practice with my dad, quickly grew that. Then I led another DSO in growth. I am currently the Chief Dental Officer of Beam Dental. And with that, what I do is work with the claims team, work with the senior team on some strategy in dental space. And I'm very fortunate enough to work on innovation with Dr. Hayder Hussein.
Thank you, Scott. My name is Hayder Hussein. Currently, I am a senior product manager at Beam. I'm a physician by training. I spent the past 10 years working in health information technology and value-based care. Joined Beam 6 months ago, and my role is primarily on the product team. I work with the engineering team to innovate and build a product, and I work very closely with Dr. Kalniz on all stuff related to innovation in the dental environment.
Terrific, thank you. Is it okay if I call you by your first names? Terrific. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about Beam and what your approach is, how this podcast around innovation and connection and making dentistry more human, how this appealed to you, and can't wait to hear what you have to say.
So, I'll go first here. Really what appealed to me was it's digital first. It's extremely innovative in how they work with brokers, with their members, with the provider network, and just how can they make the process better? It's not, well, this is how it's always been done. And so as a provider, it was just really exciting for me to see an insurance company stepping up who wants to do what's right and make it an extremely efficient process for all involved.
Agreed. And I would like to add that Beam is a digital first company, modernizing the dental benefits and introducing it to the 21st century. We focus on prevention, and that is being achieved through our connected toothbrush. We are the first insurance company, to my knowledge, that offers the members connected toothbrush, where we reward the members for the behavior of brushing their teeth. So the more they brush, they can get points, and these points can be transformed into either more either a gift card, or it could be also a dental products like the head of their toothbrush. We are also focused on innovation through easy technology infrastructure that makes it easier for the brokers to do business with us. And also at the same time, we offer the focus on the prevention as well.
So I heard a few things there that I don't always hear about in terms of dental insurance. And, as a consultant who's done a lot of work in the insurance space, I understand some of the rules, but would you mind just stopping for a minute and talking a little bit about how your relationship with brokers are different and what roles that brokers play in the dental insurance space? Because I think it's really one of the areas where you're transforming, as you just said.
As I mentioned, the unique thing about Beam is our focus on prevention and having that member-centric approach, where you can think of other industries, I would say other insurance and other industries, such as the telematics on the auto insurance side, where you reward the driver for a better driving. Beam is having this unique approach to reward the member themselves. So by brushing more, by having that preventive approach, we are offering a unique perspective by having the members being more motivated to perform a better behavior for themselves and achieve a better outcome. So the more they brush, the more they get rewarded for that brushing. And at the same time, that would be reflected as well for the groups themselves, and the groups would see, and by the groups I mean the employers would see an improvement in the patient's outcome as well. This is one of the perks that we offer. So when bringing it back to the question about the brokers, this is what gets people excited about having this modernization, if you will, of the dental benefit industry by having this focus on prevention.
I mean, it's great. You're making it fun to have dental insurance. And, you know, I'm sure for providers, you know, having more engaged patients, you know, is probably really helpful. Scott, how have you seen, you know, DSOs or providers who are, you know, in your network at Beam respond to these efforts and these innovations?
We try to do the same thing on the provider and member side that we do for the brokers. So make it easy, as digital as possible. We're working with several companies on that end as well. So instead of the old-fashioned picking up the phone, verifying insurance, you know, there's online ways to do it. There's automated phone ways to do it. So you can get faxes, which in 2022, why anyone still gets a fax is beyond me. But you know, really just making it a streamlined approach so that the provider, the member, the broker, everybody is aware of what's going on at any given time. And it just creates less opacity in the system.
Right.
Prior, members don't know what their insurance is, providers don't know what their insurance is, and they kind of hope to get paid one day and use their benefits. Where with Beam, we want them to use the benefit, and we explain to them in very clear language and transparent ways that, hey, this is how it works.
So can you tell me a little bit about how the company started, when it started? It seems like this has been, you know, some of the sort of bedrock of the company from the get-go, but we'd love to hear a little bit about, you know, the nexus of the company.
The company started as I mentioned early on, with the focus on the prevention. The early stories I heard from the co-founders is around building a prevention program through the toothbrushes, and then the business model of Beam pivoted to becoming more insurance focused. The early days of Beam was primarily focused on the toothbrush itself, and our CEO Alex Fromeyer and the other co-founders shared with us the early MVPs of the brushes and how it looks and how it progressed over time, and then how the company pivoted a few years ago to becoming more of an dental insurance that is empowered by the Internet of Things through the connected toothbrush. Currently, we also offer vision and life, plus short and long-term disability. So we are not only offering dental benefits, but we also offer other employee benefits as well.
Wow, that's fantastic. And how do you keep pulse with your members and your providers? What are ways that you get feedback from them to continue to keep, you know, patient-centered approach?
Well, I guess this is kind of how we met. And, you know, utilizing, right now we use a basic kind of net promoter score type of process. But we're, you know, DifferentKind. I think what you're doing is really meaningful. Patients want to know more about their providers. We talk internally, people pick providers that go on Google, and we know right now you could buy 5,000 Google reviews for probably $100. And we want to know directly from our members and from our providers, you know, are we doing well by the providers, but from the members, is this dentist doing as well for you as you want them to? Is there maybe another provider that could be doing better? But getting more of that information and then kind of highlighting those doctors that are doing really well by their patients.
And Hayder, if I can ask a little bit, because your background is so fascinating, and the fact that, Beam created the position that you're in, and that your position is so closely tied to product. Can you explain a little bit about your previous work and how how you're bringing that, very fundamentally into Beam and all of its products?
Absolutely. I think healthcare has been moving towards more patient-centric, or we sometimes refer to it more consumer-centric for the past 10 years. And the goal is that dental moves in the same direction. The joke is that dental is 10 years behind healthcare, and healthcare is 10 years behind everything else on the technology side. The goal is to have more of a digitized care journey. The care journey, whether in healthcare or on the dental side, it has the same element where the patient starts by discovery phase, which is trying to find care. And then after finding care, they need to shop for care. And then once they shop for care, they need to access that care and then finally pay for care. All these milestones within the care journey, it's been kind of the topic of a discussion to either digitize or modernize in healthcare in general and in dentistry in particular recently within the past 2 years, I would say, with the COVID-19 pandemic. So the discussion right now is how do we help the members to become more empowered to understand their benefits. So when they are trying to find care, how do we provide them with tools to be able to find the right care that they need? And then once they find that care, how do we offer them the tools to shop for that care? And by shopping, they need to understand the price. And that price needs to be personalized to the member themselves, to their benefit, to their plan design. So they understand what is the out of pocket. That's the responsibility for them to help them make the decision. And then once they make that decision, they need to access care. And in the COVID-19 pandemic, we all experienced telehealth, and in dentistry, teledentistry also. I was just reading recently that now the utilization of telehealth is a little bit lower than the early on during the pandemic, but it's still 11 times higher than before the pandemic. And then finally, it's still very high. And then finally, the member needs to be able to pay for that care either online or using an application on their phone. So how do we tie all these pieces together to create a digitized experience that is convenient and personalized for the member to improve their outcome and focus at the same time on prevention while we are delivering this care journey?
I mean, this is great in the sense that you clearly, you both and Beam have taken a lot of time to really think about connecting all of these dots. What other types of companies do you all potentially look at, either individually or maybe it's even a founder or a spokesperson for a company, maybe in health tech or in some other space, that you think you try to translate into what you're doing at Beam? Who do you look for inspiration?
Well, I like to read autobiographies of really successful startup founders and CEOs. So not necessarily in the dental space or the insurance space. I think Phil Knight, amazing with founding of Nike and everything he did. I think Sam Walton with Walmart. I'm fascinated by those types of entrepreneurs. So I think about what they did and the journeys that they went on, and kind of utilize that in kind of where I like to lead things.
I think I'm gonna choose an industry that I kind of look at when I think of this care journey that I just mentioned early on, and I'm gonna pick retail. When the pandemic hit us, and I personally was concerned about being around people, I needed more of a kind of a digitized experience to get my groceries in a safe environment. So Amazon's experience on their app through their integration with Whole Foods was a seamless experience for me. I was able to order my groceries. It arrived within 2 hours. I was even able to communicate with the shopper at Whole Foods. And I actually did that for more than a year, 2022 throughout the beginning of 2021. So I would choose retail. And there are so many great examples on the retail side that we can look at in healthcare in general and dentistry in particular to say, well, how do we personalize the experience by giving the member or the patient recommendations for what they need? How do we make that seamless empowerment for the patient to use their phone, to schedule an appointment, to be able to access care and have a meaningful interaction through this technology? So when we talk about teledentistry, how do we make that interaction meaningful for them? What can we take from the retail side to enrich that experience? There are many companies. I'm going to choose also a specific company to mention. Change Healthcare is doing a great job on the healthcare side. I'm a big fan of Change Healthcare and what they are doing on the consumer side. They have the framework that they choose to talk about the care journey, and they do a lot of research with Deloitte and other consulting firms to enrich the understanding of how do we offer a better experience for our patients.
Okay, well, that is, I mean, I think both of you have shared some personal pieces through that question. So I'm going to take the opportunity to go a little more personal around just connection. I mean, you both have really busy jobs and you're trying to build this wonderful company that's doing the right thing every step of the way. And you know, you're dealing with a multi-sided network. You have brokers, you have providers, you have patients and members, and then you also have your own corporate culture. How do you individually kind of refresh or reset and make sure you stay to your true north? I mean, I'm sure being in the right company at the right time helps with that. But you know, anything you could share with us around, you know, what you may do as a leader to kind of keep your resilience high and your connection, you know, super connected.
You know, what I have found, and really why I enjoy working at Beam so much, is just the culture. And it starts really from the CEO, Alex Frohmeyer, goes by Fro. And there's plenty of time to, you know, there's weekly meetings with the whole team, and it's a remote company. So it's not like COVID, they said, well, let's go remote. No, Beam was founded kind of on a remote basis. So they're based in Columbus, Ohio. I'm up in Toledo. Hyder's down in Florida. There's members all over, or employees, all team members all over, Beamers all over. And it's just a really fun, great company, forward thinking. It's not, there's really no pride in authorship. And so I would say it's the people, it's who is hired to be part of the team. I mean, everybody would run through a wall for this company. And it's just great to be part of a group of people who has a focus every day and is excited about what their role is.
I totally 100% agree with Scott. The culture at Beam is very unique, and it starts from the top with the Fro and the co-founders, and it's such an inclusive culture. On the personal side, for work, I set up daily goals and I make sure that I don't exceed the 3. And that kind of helps to center me throughout kind of the day and also the week, setting up the intentions. And also, my favorite thing is I do run and listen to audiobooks. So that is something I do quite often. That's probably something I will do after our recording. I'm going to go for around 4 to 5 miles run.
Great. I think we all have running as a shared passion, hobby, outlet. What's one song or what type of song do you like to have on your play mix? Anything you can shout out?
Yeah. While you're thinking, for me, I actually don't run with any music, any headphones. headphones. It's like my time just to zen. Now, the weird thing that I do sometimes when I'm running is I'll just do like math equations in my head, make the time go a little bit faster. But it's just kind of my time to not think about anything.
I listen to audiobooks, but I do sometimes listen to classical music if I want to just take my mind away completely. I can call a shout out for a book. Gonna shout out to The Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down by Anne Federman. It's my favorite, all-time favorite book. I probably reread this book 5 or 6 times already.
Super. Thank you so much. We'll be sure to put that in the resources at the end. So let's take it back to dental. So tell me about, what are some of the places you think if you could transform dentistry tomorrow for all, where would be a place you would start, or what would be one thing you would like to see? And this is you speaking as you, not and Beam, but also just it could be outside of insurance if that's where your thoughts go.
So for me, being a dentist, consistency in diagnosis and treatment plan, which I think kind of morphs into what we're starting to see now in the AI space. Just wildly different diagnoses and or lack of diagnosis, doing work, but lack of diagnosis. And I've overseen, a couple hundred doctors at a time at my last in my last role at a DSO, and that was kind of the one thing trying to get my arms around was, and this is a dental problem. Going back to stories after story, like was it Reader's Digest, where the patient went to 100 dentists and got 110 different diagnoses. So that would be my dream. I think we're getting close. I think the first step is utilizing AI to at least kind of, all right, here's an issue. We know based on technology that, and my feeling is within the next 3 to 5 years at the latest, it'll be able to diagnose. Now, whether the dentist agrees or doesn't agree, it's going to know based on the data, right? This tooth with this size filling, we know based on the millions of teeth we've seen that look like it, within the next 12 months, we'll need to have a crown. Or if not, it will, the whole cascade of issues that could possibly happen. So long way of answering your question.
No, thank you so much. And maybe we'll come back to AI in a bit, but Hayder, how do you think about this?
I think dentistry is due for tying value and the quality to the outcome. In healthcare, we started the movement towards value-based care almost 10 years ago with the Affordable Care Act of 2010. And I think industry needs to tie the outcome of the procedures to value-based care. That is not only going to benefit the members, but it's also going to benefit the providers themselves by having them differentiate themselves from the others. I would definitely would love to see more of value-based care and the movement of even tying the payments, just like in healthcare, to the value and the outcome of the procedures. And not to sound redundant on the kind of the personal side, I would want to see more personalization also. And to tie it with the AI that Scott just mentioned, is like, how do we provide a personalized experience using AI to make recommendations for our patients? So if we run certain diagnostic testing, and then our technology can predict that certain or potential diseases are down the road, well, how do we make sure that we provide the patient with this knowledge? And how do we provide them access to preventive procedures so we ensure that they have better outcomes down the road?
Yeah, I really like the picture you're painting of using technology virtually first, increasing the calibration and, giving the patient something aside from always second guessing their dentist. And sometimes, as a dentist, I've been on the receiving end where I've had a patient who is very skeptical of anything a dentist says, and you have to kind of take time to repair that trust. And so I think trust is such an essential factor here. And it seems like you have multiple touch points with your members and your providers, but can you maybe just speak to, how is trust a central theme, to kind of get to the transformation and being able to look at quality over time and where you think that is in healthcare today?
I think it is essential. This is my kind of first foray on the insurance side. There always seems to be friction between the provider and the insurance company. Insurance companies want to pay for high quality care. And what typically happens is it's garbage in, garbage out. I've looked at, part of my role is I look at certain things, and a case will come in and it won't even have x-rays, or it'll have the wrong codes, or it will have no diagnosis. And no insurance company is set up to be a mind reader. So it's kind of auto rejected. Well, then that kind of starts the process where the dentist gets upset. And I've been on that side too, right? So, I have this holistic view of where things are, how Beam is trying to fix that. But in any system, all of the parts have to be working together. We want our members to get the best care possible. We want to pay for that care. The providers then have to do the right diagnostic tests, have to provide the right information. It should be a very seamless flow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where gaining trust. As a dentist, you have to show your patient, you have to be empathetic, you have to show them pictures, you have to explain it to them so they know what you're talking about in non-dental terms. And we have to do that in non-dental insurance terms to everybody. And just talk to each other.
And in addition to what Scott mentioned, I think creating feedback loops between the providers and the members is really very important. That personalized experience I mentioned early on could be captured through these feedback loops. That comes through tools like DifferentKind, right? Is by creating that feedback where we tell the member, we tell the patient that when you go and visit the doctor's office, we're going to take into consideration your needs, and we are going to ask you to give us your feedback about your experience, and how do we feed that experience back to the provider and help them understand the patient's need. And these needs are not only specific to just the procedures themselves, but also the environment. We all understand that access to care is linked to more than just the ability to pay for that care, but it's also linked to behavioral health literacy, and also the environmental experience when someone visits the provider. So all these factors put together, it will create a trust because the patient at the end of the day will see that their opinion matters. It is not that they are being told what to do, but they are being listened to what they need, and that need is being implemented. So I'm optimistic that by implementing the right tools to create that feedback loop between the provider, the payer, and the patient, we will be able to build very solid trust between these three partners.
I mean, I think it's so amazing to have the conversation, and this is not our first conversation, but our first recorded conversation, to really see and hear that Beam is, really knows what the care journey is and really has a multi-dimension and forward-reaching thought process around patient experience. I think oftentimes when we hear patient experience, it's just, can you text your patient to remind them to come into their appointment so that they pay for their, procedure. And it's not the more holistic, all-encompassing piece. I wanted to sort of close with a little bit of your thoughts for the future, either, from the Beam perspective or personally, in terms of, where in the next 3 to 5 years, I know we had sort of talked about that time measure, but what do you think could be some of the really transformational pieces that you hope to, lead the way and continue your early adopter innovation kind of mantra at Beam?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, Beam is looking to utilize the newest cutting edge technologies and softwares to break down barriers to care, to break down the barriers of understanding your care. So we've talked about AI and other various methods, and that's really what Hayder and I are working a lot on right now, is how can Beam stay out ahead with teledentistry, with AI, with provider networks, with all of those things. Imagine a time in the future where, with accountable care that Hayder mentioned, dentists right now every dentist is treated the same, right? Whether you're the best or the worst dentist, you're treated the same. But imagine a time where, based on your DifferentKind feedback, based on the quality of care you're providing because of AI, we know your crowns last longer, your fillings last longer, your patients are healthier, their periodontal health is healthier. Well, let's reward you for that. So instead of just a race to the bottom, let's partner with the best doctors so that our members get the best care possible.
I know I want to sign up to be a Beam provider. And Dr. Hussein, could you maybe close for us and how how you're bringing some of this philosophy and the experience over the last 10, 15 years around quality improvement and much more, investment in innovation and trying to shorten the time frame in the dental industry through your work at Beam?
I'm going to take it just kind of more on to the macro level, and I will say COVID changed our lives. And I think there will be more digitization in general. Teledentistry is here to stay. And I see a future where we empower the member, the patient, with more tools, such as self-diagnostic tools, or I would actually, let me rephrase that by saying self-screening tools, where would enable them to understand their medical conditions and would enable them to understand their benefits as well in a more comprehensive and easy to understand way, and how can they access the care with the resources they have to have the best care possible. I think there will be this connection between what you can do at the individual level, at the patient level, using technology. And then I think our role down the road will be meeting the patient where they need us. So there will always be the need for the human touch throughout this care journey. But I think what will be different in the future is that how much of that care journey can be digitized, and then how do we make sure that we incorporate the human element to hold the hand so the patient can cross that chasm and get to where they need to be, and make sure that they access the care, they have a better outcome, and at the same time, we are reducing the cost overall to the system by making sure that we all have the tools that enables the patient to understand their care and also the provider to provide the best care possible for them.
Superb. I very much enjoyed our time together. And, Beam is lucky to have you all. And sounds like you're lucky to have Beam too. I can't wait to see what else you do as you continue to grow your features. And, maybe we'll have you back as we grow too at DifferentKind and talk about some of your other lines of business. Because if you can bring this, same sort of approach, maintain your company culture and, race to innovation, there's no telling what you can do. You certainly are kind of different. So Dr. Kalniz, Dr. Hussein, again, thank you so very much. How can people connect with you if they have questions or they wanted to reach out?
I'm email scott.kalniz@beam.dentistry. or sorry, Beam.dental. Sorry, Beam.dental.
Carolyn, it was a pleasure talking and speaking to you today about the future of dentistry. I really enjoyed the conversation. People can reach me through my LinkedIn. I'm happy to share my LinkedIn with you. You can also put it with the description of this episode, and also my email, Hayder.Hussein@beam.dental as well.
Superb. We will be sure to furnish everyone with that information. Again, thank you for sharing this afternoon with me and talking about the future, innovation, your current work, really connecting with people, making dental care more human, and all of the other things you're doing that's kind of different at Beam Dental. Thank you again.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.